everyone, and welcome to National Robot Day featuring Peter Ometer. I'm Elena Clark-Weinstein. I am the COO at Teacher Goals Publishing, and I'm super excited to be here, and I'm so excited that you guys are joining us today. Today we have the author, illustrator, and animator of Peter Ometer, Tricia Fuglestad. Today, she is going to be reading her exclusive animated read-aloud of Peter Ometer, followed by a robot draw-along. Then she will answer your questions from the chat during our author Q&A. And last, make sure you guys stay tuned for the book and augmented reality t-shirt giveaways at the end today.
All right, thank you. And thank you for being here. We're so excited that you're here joining us for National Robot Day and celebrating Peter's very first National Robot Day celebration, because Peter, he is a programmable, empathetic, touch-sensitive, emotional robot, has only been launched since July. So this is probably a new story for you. And I'm excited to share it with you. So I would love to hear where you're from. So in the chat, could you go ahead and tell us who you are and where you're coming in from? Oh, I see we've got Mrs. Buckles from Virginia. Awesome. And I know that I've seen Mr. Oslander from Indiana. How exciting. I think I saw that he was here with his first graders. Awesome. We have Miss Endo from Hawaii. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here to celebrate Peter. I see Miss Sexton from Greenwood, second grade. Awesome. I'm so glad to have you. We've got a kindergarten class from Georgia. Thank you. And we've got Miss Taylor from Florida, St. Cloud, Florida. So many people joining us. Wonderful. Some people signed up and RSVP'd and they're joining us live. But some people, I understand, this might be lunchtime and you can't just drag the kids in from lunch and recess. So you're going to watch it as a replay, which is great too. And also there's people who are probably just like, what is this thing? And they just popped in. So we're so glad you're here to celebrate National Robot Day with us. Now, Peter Ometer is an interactive story, and we're going to watch the animated version of this augmented reality social emotional book. So this is a version you'll never see anywhere else, the animated version. So it is also interactive. So I would like for you to try to figure out a plan for how you're going to be interactive if you have a class full of kids in the room with you. So there are 6 times in the story where Peter's going to need your advice on which button to press on his emotion device. And so you could have them talk about what color or emotion they want to give Peter advice for pressing. So like he'll say, what button should I press? And you might think it should be the angry button, which would be red. And so I'm going to show you what all those buttons look like and how you might use words to describe them or colors to describe them as we go. So we're going to go ahead and get started on our read along. Okay. Peter Ometer. Are we good? Everybody can see this? We're ready to go? Good. First thing I want to do is check in with you and explain these buttons. So, Peter Ometer is an emotion bot and he has 6 buttons on his emotion panel. And I'm wondering which button you're feeling today. You can tell us in the chat, or you could just tell your teacher. One of the things that you can look at here is a color with an emoji, and that explains an emotion. This one is red and it shows anger. But there's also an expression here that matches anger. Can you find which one that would be? I would say it's this one with the eyebrows tilting down. So this one is yellow and it looks happy. And there is an expression on Peter's face that matches that over here. Over here is blue and it looks sad. The mouth is tilting down and the eyes are looking up. Oh, good. I see Mr. Aslander is happy. He's yellow. Also, there is a green button that is calm. And calm, let's see. Oh, look at this one. The eyes are closed. He's just thinking very peacefully and calm. Over here is purple with a heart on it. That one matches this face. He's loving. And over here we have orange, and it looks a little worried and maybe a little scared. Do you see this one right here? The eyes are really big and the eyebrows go up. So those are the different emotions. And so when Peter needs help and he needs to know which button to press, you can call it by color or you can call it by the name of that emotion. Okay? Oh, I see some people are feeling loving. Love it. Okay, we're ready now to unwind with a good book. And you can see in this illustration that Peter feels all the emotions, and that's okay. It's okay to feel any which way. So if you were to own this book, you would have a different reading experience because it's an augmented reality book. And I'll explain what that looks like. So let's see. In augmented reality, you would use the Quiver app. And it would be free to use. You would scan that QR code and it would unlock all of the animations, all the augmented reality animations associated in the book. And here's a peek at what some of those might look like. You can see that the artwork comes to life right off the page, including the cover. Now, it's not really clear which ones come to life and which don't. You would have to treat the book like a treasure hunt. Scan everything you can and see what happens. And then there's a page. It's in the book and it's also in the activity packet. You can see it over here where you can pull up a 3D model of Peter Ometer. And that 3D model is interactive. That means you could press the buttons on it and you can see what emotions Peter is expressing. It changes his face. It also plays animation and music. It's pretty fun. And it's free for you to download from the Teacher Goals publishing website. Hi, reader. I'm the author of Peter Ometer, and I dedicated this book to every child who has ever flipped their lid, let off steam, soothed themselves with a calming dream. Remember, it's okay to feel any which way. Hi, reader. I'm Peter. I need your advice for my newly upgraded emotion device. When you notice my feelings are brewing inside, you can press on my buttons to help me decide. Peter Ometer. When robots have feelings that cross other wires, their detectors break down and their signals misfire. And that's what occurred with one emotion bot who needed tweaking to his 6-button slot. The programmable, empathetic, touch-sensitive pad for emotional robots who feel good and feel bad needs to calibrate fully to fine-tune the sensors. Each cause and effect cues the feeling dispensers. The Tinkertron bus Hovered to a stop. Peter took a deep breath, then jumped on with a hop. I'm off now, Illumimum. Dad, goodbye. His parents called out, oh, go ahead and just try. Let the feelings you feel today act as your guide. Your computer and motor will help you decide. So Peter-O-Meter, an emotion bot, went off to school, ready or not. The lift opened up and he rolled into class. His friends gathered round saying, Peter, at last! Their speech filters failed and they spoke out of turn, inquiring with glee about Peter's return. Your panel's different. There's so much to press. Just look at those feelings you get to express. It must have been hard with your system outdated. Do you choose for yourself? Is it automated? Magnetic and microwave. Look at my pad. There's anger, joy, calm, loving, worried, and sad. Yes, electronic and ionization. I push my own button for each situation. I need a tune-up. Clicked to mute the whole class, shifting everyone's eyes to the lesson's first task. Today we'll explore one of metal's properties to compute your melting point in Fahrenheit degrees. By knowing your limits, you might not melt down. Arg, if ye be weak, jeered the rowdy class clown. Ye mateys are soft, he declared from the table, then crashed to the ground, since his perch was unstable. You are but what a crumpled up mess! You're quite out of order. Your framework looks stressed. Peter's processor spun in his sprockety mind, spurring further feelings he strove to define. He looked at his friend. He was damaged, confused. Then he searched all the buttons for the right one to use. Hey, reader, it's Peter. Please give me your advice. Which button should I press on my emotion device? All right, this is one of those moments where we need your input. Think about what Peter was going through. What button do you think he should be pressing at this time? Your input is going to be sent to Peter to help calibrate that emotion panel. All right, add it to the chat. Gather up all that information. I'm about to send that information to Peter. Here we go. Thanks for your advice. Let's see which button Peter presses now. He picked blue. He clicked Cyber Sad with a flood of compassion and lifted up Arg full of dents and some smash-ins. I'll go to the shop with him, Peter suggested, to get him smoothed out and ensure he's well rested. At recess, the robots rolled under the dome, recharging as light shined bright on their chrome. Peter, watch me. I can hang from one cog, Peter called out. Is that safe, Analog? Heat flushed Peter's motor. His gears shifted speed. Valves rapidly fluttered. Which switch do I need? Reader, it's Peter. Please give me your advice. Which button should I press on my emotion device? All right, I need your input again. Think about what Peter might be feeling. Tell your teacher, type it in the chat. Help us figure out how to calibrate the emotion panel. Okay, I'm going to send your advice. Here we go. All right, thank you for your advice. Kind of goes fast, doesn't it? Maybe I could slow it down a little bit. Here we go. Anxietizer mode. Signal danger overhead. He pressed the orange one. Peter made maneuvers, metal arms outspread. He caught Anna Log as her cog grip gave way, then set her down safely, reeling back to play. "Hey, Peter, come join us," called out Regulator. "We need another bot to play circuit maker. Let's link our energy in an endless robot chain. You can take Maggie's place. Her power's all drained." Removed from the game, Maggie slumped by the plug. "She's no fun this way," Reggie said with a shrug. The hot flame ignited. Deep within his chest, Maggie was excluded, dismissed from the rest. Bubbles were brewing. He boiled up with steam. His lids started rattling. What could all this mean? "Reader, reader, it's Peter. Please give me your advice. Which button should I press on my emotion device?" All right, think about which button, and we'll send that information, put it in the chat. Which color or which feeling do you think Peter's experiencing? And we'll take that input and send it off. Thanks for your advice. He pressed red. Hotbot was engaged with a fiery fit of fury. He almost blew his top, his gauges in a flurry. He turned to the bots who sprang all about. "Come bounce over, everybody," Peter called out. "Who wants to jump rope? You can all share my cord." Maggie swung, friends jumped as her power restored. Peter joined the game, linked with electronic. The circuit zapped closed. It was electronic. The robots were lit, blinking bright in the sun. Microwave even heated, snacks for everyone. Peter giggled, a sound hardly heard among bots. He was ticklish from the trickles of crackling watts. His eyes were aflicker with warm glowing light. His tank brimmed with sparkles. Was Peter all right? "Reader, reader, it's Peter. Please give your advice. Which button should I press on my emotion device?" All right, we need to hear from you again. Tell us which button is Peter feeling or which emotion, and we'll send it off. He pressed yellow. Rigamajoy was pressed with a surge of flowing glee. It burst Peter's resistors with luminosity. Since metal's conductive, the joy found a way. One by one, grins arose on each robot's display. The recess abruptly ended, signaled by a chime. Peter was too wound up from his exciting time. He pondered for a while how to realign his thoughts. Is there something on my panel that settles silly bots? "Reader, reader, it's Peter. Please give me your advice. Which button should I press on my emotion device?" So think, what will settle him down? Go ahead and give us your advice and we'll send it off to Peter. All right. Thanks for your advice. Which one did he press? Green. Peter picked Calmatic, bathed in a soothing glow of green. He turned his dial to static, picturing a lovely dream. You could hear the gentle idle of his generator's hum, his wires firmly grounded with solar panels soaked in sun. He went back to class, calm and recharged, mindful of his feelings, small and large. Reader, it's Peter. Thanks for your advice. Just one button remains on my emotion device, but I think I've got it covered. I know just what to do. I've identified this feeling, and I think you've felt it too. It makes my motor whir and tightens up my springs. It fills my mind with thoughts of pleasant, heartfelt things. Do you want to take a guess at what button he's going to press? He says he doesn't need advice, but it'd be fun if you could just guess. All right, let's send that off. Then Peter did something he hadn't before. He reached down himself to press auto adore. The end. All right, we're going to transition to our draw along, and I need you to be thinking about some drawing materials, some paper, some pencils so that we can draw Peter O Meter. And we'll be right back. Okay, so let me just show you. I'm going to be drawing with a black marker, which means I can't erase my mistakes. I would recommend that you draw with a pencil, but I needed a black marker so you can see it really well. So hopefully I do a good job. I've got coloring supplies that I'll take care of later. And then I like to use a straight edge. And so I just picked a little business card. Because robots have a lot of straight edges, but you don't have to use a straight edge. Maybe a ruler or a piece of cardboard, the edge of a notebook would work, but you could just skip it and draw straight lines the best you can. We're just going to try our best. All right, let me show you what Peter O Meter looks like first. Remind you of how he's designed. And also, I'm going to point out some things that'll make this even easier. He is just a bunch of shapes. Did you know that I'm an art teacher? So I totally think about this all the time, how to break things into small, easy pieces so that kids can draw. And I work with kindergartners through fifth graders all the time. So I think I came up with a way to help you do this really simply. It's going to start with rectangles. And do we know what rectangles are? I think we do, right? 4 sides. I'm going to use my straight edge to help me think about where I want to put the head. Oh, you know what? It might be fun to do. I'm going to show you what not to do first. I always like to do this. Here's what not to do. We don't want to draw too small. If you draw so small, you're going to run out of space to put the details. And it just kind of gets blurry. And here's another thing that, it's nice to draw big. But when you draw so big, you might run out of space to finish the whole drawing. So I have a plan to help you get all of your drawing to fit on the paper so we can see a head and down to his feet. So let's see if we can do this together. I'm going to make a rectangle at the top. And let's see. I'm not going to go all the way to the top of the paper because there's some things that happen at the top of the paper or at the top of his head. He has a lid that opens up, right? When he gets filled with steam, he has to flip his lid. And so I want to make sure I leave room for his lid to flip. And I'm going to start a shape for his body because he has another rectangle to get us started on his body. But I don't want to put it right under his head because I need to have room for not only his neck, but like he kind of has like a shoulder space. And I'll explain what that's about in a little bit. So I'm actually going to go 2 fingers down. And I'm going to try a bigger rectangle. So rectangle means 4 sides. These are 2 parallel lines that are horizontal, and these are parallel lines that are vertical. So I have a rectangle for the head. I have a rectangle for the body. I have 2 fingers apart. Okay, this is the bottom of my page. I want to make sure that I can fit those feet at the bottom. So I'm going to just like make sure I can at least fit that business card in there. So that's like 3 inches if you have a ruler. And I'm going to put a rectangle that sits over here. It's a little one. It's the start of his feet. And then I'm going to start another rectangle about right there. So these 4 rectangles ensure that my whole robot will fit on the page. Head, body, and the beginning of the feet. And now I can get started on some details. I like to do this neck thing next. Try to say that a couple times. Neck next. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I mean a little bit better here. Make that brighter. There we go. So the neck is going to go into a space above that rectangle. You see that? This rectangle and then the neck. It looks a little tricky, but it's really not that hard. Here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to think about 1 finger thick. And when I draw the neck about 1 finger thick, I'm not going to touch the rectangle. Do you see how I didn't touch? I just let it kind of hover above. That's because I want it to look like it's going in to a collar. Do you know what that really is? It's a C. Do you see the letter C? If I turn it this way, you can see the letter C. But you see it this way. I'm going to try it one more time. If I zoom in a little bit better, you can see it. So I am drawing 1 more around, just like that. So now we have a collar that the neck is going into, but it's floating. There's nothing here. So this is where it gets cool because we're going to make Peter Ometer look like he's 3-dimensional. 3-dimensional. You've probably heard 3D before, right? So you can measure Peter in 3 different ways. You can find out how tall this rectangle is. You can find out how wide this rectangle is, but we're going to find out how deep that rectangle goes. And we can do that when we draw this diagonal line. And we'll just make it stop. And I'm going to do one over here, and I'm pointing my diagonal line towards the neck. Do you see that? They're heading towards the neck because it's going deep backwards. You're seeing depth. And now here's the fun part. Overlapping. I'm going to draw a line that connects back here, but when I reach the neck, I stop, skip it, and start again. And it's going to be so cool because it'll look like that line continues behind the neck. So here I go. I'm going to stop when I get to the neck, skip it, start again, and stop at the, oh, did you see that? So now that line got overlapped by the neck and it looks continuous. I'm going to back it up and show you the full look here. So now I have height, width, and depth. It's 3D. Peter's head is going to be 3D also. So I'm going to try something very similar up on top of his head. Same idea. I'm going to make these diagonal lines. And one over here. I'm going to connect them. I have no overlapping on this one, so I could just go straight across. And that becomes height, width, and depth. So that one's 3D also. I can start adding some details now to that head. Do you remember that he flips his lid? And he has an antenna. He has a little switch over here. Let's add those kinds of details. And let's see, flipping the lid. Let me see if you can see that. I'm going to just do a couple of curved lines, another diagonal. That's the lid that flipped open. And then I'm going to add a couple of horizontal lines that come out. Like you could see the compartment into his head. You could actually look inside there, and that'd be where the steam comes out. And I think that's it for the top. And I'm ready to start thinking about the sides of his head. Remember, he looks like he has a couple of ears. They look like half circles right about there. He has a switch on this side. When you play with the 3D model of Peter Ometer, this switch has it controls something on the emotion panel. You should play with it and see what it does. So there's the switch. Over here, it's an antenna. So I'm going to use my straight edge, go up, parallel lines, and end it with a circle for the top of the antenna, which in the animation, this would sparkle. All right, I've got more details I could be adding to Peter Ometer's face, but I feel like he's floating right now, and I really have a need to connect him to his feet. So let's see if we can get his feet figured out and connect up. So I'm going to zoom back down to those feet and take a look at what the feet look like on Peter. So he has those same angles leading up to an oval. And if that's not clear, I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to take my straight edge, and remember those diagonals that we've been doing? We're doing the same idea here. And we'll do the same idea over here. Diagonal lines. And then there's an oval, and that's pretty much his ankle. So I'm going to draw, it's a little bit like a circle, but it's more stretched out. And it sits at the top where his ankle would be. He has a couple more pieces of detail that we could add. He has a rectangle inside the rectangle over here on his feet. And then he has like decorations in a way, but actually it helps keep him together. He has like little rivets. So I make a line and 3 dots for rivets on these edges. Okay, so let me back it up and we'll take a look at how this connects up to the body. I'm going to find the outside edge of the oval and go straight up to the body. Outside edge, straight up. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm kind of working both legs at the same time. Now the inside line is going to be on this side of the oval, going straight up. And this side of the oval, going straight up. Here we go. And let me just double check. About a finger thick. That's pretty good. Did you notice that Peter Ometer has springs in his legs? He has springs inside there. I really like to draw the springs because it's one loopy line for the whole spring. A loopy line. So I'm going to think about how to do a loopy line without going out of the edges if I can. Because if he's going out of the edges with his springs, that means something's wrong. I don't want it to be wrong, I guess. Like something's broken on Peter. So I'm going to think loopy line in between these 2 vertical parallel lines. See the loop-de-loop? That was just one loop-de-loop. And if I take it slow and careful, then I can stay in the lines a little bit better. But remember, we're just trying our best. And I'm hoping I'm not going too fast and making it hard for you to keep up with me. But you do know, if I am going too fast, even if you're watching it live, you could pause and then figure it out. But then you do want to join us back live again at the end when we have our giveaway, okay? So we're gonna do the shoulders and the arms. And I have a trick where I am pretty much gonna connect the dots. And it's not very tricky at all, actually. So the first thing I like to do is I like to think about these shoulders as half circles. And there's a starting point for the half circle and an ending point for the half circle. Do you see that? So let me see if I should zoom in a little bit better. So a starting point, ending point. Once I draw those two little reminder dots, it's so much easier for me to do a good job with my half circle. That's a shoulder. Let's try it again over here. So my starting dot was about midway. Do you see that? And then my ending dot is just a little ways down on the side. And then I'm going to try my half circle. So those are the shoulders. Now he has circles for his elbows and circles for his wrists. So I'm going to think about, where do I want the elbows to go? And I'd say about right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a couple of circles. They don't have to be as big as the shoulder circles though. We're going to go a little bit more like a medium size. So circles for the shoulders, half circles really. Then we've got elbows. And now we're going to go to the wrist. And the wrist is also going to be a circle. It could be a little bit smaller. So it's like large, medium, small. Large, medium, small. Okay? So shoulders, elbows, wrist. That's the plan. Let me show you again what it's going to look like. Shoulders, elbow, wrist. So we're going to do some connecting. We're going to connect these dots. I like to go on the side of the circle to the side of that circle. Side of this circle, side of that circle. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And you know what? When something is the same on both sides, it has a name. It's symmetrical. Same on both sides. So I'm going to go from the side of the circle to the side of that circle. So now I have from the shoulders to the elbows. And I'm ready next to go from the elbows to the wrist. Elbows to the wrist. Let's see. I'm going to go from the side of the circle to the side of the circle and connect it down on both side of circle to side of circle. But do you see something? It's tapering. It's getting from large to small as we go because our circles were different sizes. And you know what? That's how arms work, don't they? It's bigger up at the shoulders and they're smaller down at the wrist. Speaking of wrist, we're ready to start figuring out how to do those hands. Let me show you the hands again. Do you see they're kind of like clamps? What animals are, where do you see creatures that have hands like those? Kind of inspired from like the claws of a lobster or a crab. So I'm going to start with this upside down V. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side so it's symmetrical, upside down V. And when I take it from that bottom of the V, I'm going to curve to the circle. But I'm going to curve up high on the circle, not the bottom of the circle. So I'm going to go from here all the way up to the side of the circle. Over here, curve up to the side of the circle. Does that make sense? We're going to try it one more time over here. So I'm going to take it from the bottom of that upside down V, and I'm going to curve up to the side of that circle for his wrist, and I'll try it again over here. All right, I'm going to back it up and see how we did. Okay, I think we can see the head, the body, the arms, the legs. We put in a lot of details, but we have some missing. There's some details missing on the panel. We've got some rivets we're missing over here, and then we have the expression on his face. So I'm going to save the expression for last. You could be thinking, how do you want Peter to feel? I'm going to start with the rivets. Did you see what I just did? I did a matching diagonal line over here, kind of makes a section on his shoulders. And I'm going to add those 3 dots in a row, and that's keeping him all welded together. I'm going to start making his gears, his gauge, and his buttons. So his gears are the 2 circles, and they spin together. So they're actually supposed to kind of like touch each other. And when one moves this way, it kind of moves the other one the opposite way, like clockwise and counterclockwise, actually. So if I want those 2 circles to touch each other, I have to draw them big and kind of not overlapping, but close to overlapping, like close to touching. So that's a good start because they're pretty close. And I'm going to add a little circle inside the circle. And these are the cogs. They are like the little teeth of the gear. Do you remember Analog? She was holding on by a cog, and then her grip gave way in the story. That same word. Okay, you can see that these 2 are touching each other, so I did a good job on that one. I don't always. Sometimes I make them too small and they don't touch and it doesn't make sense, but I'm trying. Next is the panel, and it is a rectangle, and then there's a half circle above it for gauges. So I'm going to start with the rectangle down here. This is where the 6 buttons are going to be. And that means rectangle has horizontal and vertical lines. 6 buttons are going to go on this panel. So I have to figure out how to divide this up into 6 sections to kind of make it look even. So here's the plan. I'm going to do 2 vertical lines and 1 horizontal line. Let's see if I can do it. Think about how to be even with my 2 vertical lines. That's kind of even. And then I have to find the middle and go across for a horizontal line. So if I did a good job, I should see 6 pretty close to even sections. And that's where I'm going to add 1 button in each. And the buttons are circles. And this is where you can draw emojis on the buttons, or you can color them. You could do it the way Peter has it, or you can make it up yourself. This could be anything, really, right? I'm going to start the gauges. Now, the gauges have the arrow on it. And actually, I have a good picture of the gauge right here. You can see that it's like a rainbow, but it's not really a rainbow because a rainbow has 7 colors. This is more like a color wheel because it's a color wheel that's in a half circle instead of a full circle. So you're going to see the primary colors and the secondary colors all lined up. I'm going to start with a half circle, like a big arch, and it goes over the top. And then I'm going to think about where the arrow is connected at a little spot in the middle. There's no arrow yet because I didn't decide what emotion he is, because the arrow switches to a different color for each emotion. Did you notice that? So if he's sad, it points to the blue one. If he's loving, it points to the purple one. So it all matters, where that arrow is. It's going to help decide what Peter's feeling. But I do know that it's going to have 6 sections. So here's the plan for 6 sections. 1 line goes straight up. Then I have to do 2 lines here and 2 lines here. So altogether, it's only 5 lines, but trust me, that'll turn into 6 sections. So 1, whoops, 2. And then let's do 2 more over here. Okay, how'd I do? Do I have 6 sections? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 lines, 6 sections. All right, that plan is done. I know. I'm going to decide later where the colors go, what the emojis look like. But right now, I'm going to focus on the face. So let's take a look at some of these expressions on Peter and Meter's face. Let's see if I can make sure that's all focused. You can see that, right? So this is an expression for anger, and that's also the red color. Here is an expression for fear, and his eyes change and the shape of his mouth changes. Joy, happy, that has different eyebrows, different eyes, and the mouth is a different shape. Look at what happens for calm. The eyes are closed. The mouth is really small. Look at the eyebrows, and it's green. Over here is sad. The eyebrows are going up. Look at the shape of that mouth for sad, and it's blue. And here's love. And the eyebrows are kind of normal, but the eyelids are closing a little bit, like kind of dreamy, right? And that's purple. So now those are my interpretations of expressions and feelings. Yours could be different, and that's just fine. I'm going to go ahead and try to draw one of the expressions on my Peter meter. You draw your idea, but I'm going to start with the eyebrows, and I'm going to do big circles for the eyes. I have to think about where the pupil is because that seems to change according to the emotion. And so you can guess which one I'm doing now. Let's see. I'm going to add this one up high. And I'm going to think about the shape of the mouth. Are you able to guess yet what I'm trying to draw? So when I did the shape of the mouth, I like it to do like a rim because that creates almost like lips, right? And then his teeth are going to show in this expression. So I'm going to draw, first I'm going to just draw a lot of lines that go down. Those are vertical. And then I'm going to add one horizontal line in the middle. But I'm not done yet because Peter has had 3 visits from the robot tooth fairy. So I have to blacken those out. I'd love to hear in the chat what you think robots get from the robot tooth fairy. It'd be fun to know what you think. All right, so I made a plan for my expression and everything about how I want to draw Peter and Meter. So you go ahead and start coloring. Think about what you want to ask me because we're getting ready for our author Q&A next.
Sorry, there we go. Sorry, it took me a second. I just wanted to share while the kids are finishing up their drawings that I was drawing along myself.
Aw. Oh, look at that. That's awesome.
It was fun.
So I didn't go too fast.
No, it's perfect. I mean, that's what I followed. There we go.
Wonderful. Okay. So let's see what questions you have for me. And
Yeah.
I have some other things that I could share as well.
So everybody, if you guys have any questions for Tricia about how she became an author, how she came up with her ideas for Peter Meter, anything about the book, if you guys could start dropping them in the chat.
Okay.
Let's see if we get some. Let me give them a few seconds.
Maybe while people are thinking about it, I'm going to give you some background information about Peter Meter's inspiration. So when I started to think about Peter Meter and what all of his friends looked like, I went back into my archives from when I taught fifth graders how to do robots. And so I went through their images and found 6 that inspired me to make different characters. And you can see on the screen, Leilani's robot inspired electronic. Charlotte's robot inspired microwave. Peter's robot inspired regulator. Some of them I changed a lot. Some of them I didn't change much at all. Rachel's robot inspired magnetic. And Casper's robot inspired ionization. And Emily's robot, that pirate robot, inspired Argolot bot. Which, did you know that there's also a National Speak Like a Robot Day? And that's like Argolot bot's favorite day too. But he gets to celebrate National Robot Day and Speak Like a Pirate Day. He gets a lot of fun days.
Well, we actually have a few questions coming in, and I'm going to shoot one up here too. Oh, and I wanted to say we got some answers on the Tooth Fairy question. I heard batteries. That was a pretty good one. Batteries. Yeah, that was a good one. Batteries, new parts. Yeah. Okay, so let's shoot one of these questions up. We've got from Jenna Taylor, what is Peter's favorite thing to do?
Peter, okay, so did you see in the story that he loves to watch TV in his really cool bedroom? He has such a cool bedroom with huge windows, and you can see the flying cars outside, and he hangs out with his cat. Did you guys catch the name of his cat? It says it somewhere anybody who knows the name of the cat, go ahead and tell us in the chat, because it's a really cute name. And I'll tell you why it's called that. It's because it has a large capacity to store love.
Oh, okay. Let me share. I think we probably have time for maybe one more question, so we make sure we have enough time for the giveaways. We have got, let's see.
I didn't say the name of the cat, though.
Oh.
It's Megabytes.
Megabyte. There you go. Okay, let's see. We got a question here. Violetta says, hi, do you come with the story first and then the characters? Or I guess the other way around. Which one did you do, Tricia?
The story first. Well, the story also involved all the characters, but drawing and coming up with all the ideas came after the manuscript was completely written. But I started sketching from the very, very beginning. As soon as I started to write the story, I started sketches, and they changed a lot. Like, let me just show you really quick one of my early sketches for Peter Meter, because it's kind of fun to think about how far we've come. Do you see this?
Yeah.
Some of the early ideas. Yep. And there's Peter hanging out with Megabytes, and his parents peeking from the doorway. He had a toy robot with a little wind up in the back.
That's cute.
Alrighty.
Okay, well, I think since we've got about 5 more minutes left, I think we should head into some questions and giveaways. I know we got some different ways that everyone can win their own copy of Peter a Meter.
That's right.
So let's go. Okay.
All right, so for the giveaway, in the chat, you can give us the answers to these trivia questions about Peter a Meter. And we're going to give away 4 books for Peter a Meter, and then we'll tell you about how you could also win a book and augmented reality t-shirt, which I'm wearing one right now, and it really does come to life. And I posted it on my social media. You can find it and see what it really looks like. It's really amazing. Okay, so here's our first question. This is for a book. Tell us in the chat, The illustrations in the book were inspired by an art movement called retrofuturism, where people from the past imagine what the future looks like. That's what retrofuturism is. So I sprinkled into the illustrations a lot of old technology. And so there's like 5 correct answers, but all we need to hear is maybe one to see who could identify old technology that showed up in the illustrations, and that could be our book winner. So tell us in the chat what you saw.
Okay, let's see if we get some answers. Okay.
Old technology.
Oh, I see some coming in. Okay, I think we have one.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. We've got our first winner is going to be Shannon Perryman.
You can see the record player right here.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. So since we have a winner, I'm going to go through and show you what I've intentionally sprinkled in. The elevator looks like a jukebox. Analog is actually a reel-to-reel projector. This is a very old technology, but I think I've seen it in my lifetime. Yep. This is the record player, so Shannon got that right. You can see it in their living room. And Peter Ometer uses a tube TV that comes down from the ceiling for him to watch TV. And then there's this huge wall one over here in their living room. And outside the windows, sometimes you can see some flying cars that look like styles from the 50s. All right, next we have a trivia question again. The Tinkertron students were learning about properties of metal, which is melting point, malleability, and conductivity. You probably saw all 3 of those things in the illustrations. Can you name at any point you saw melting point, malleability, or conductivity? So melting point is at the point where metal turns. You can be writing this right now. You don't have to wait until I'm done explaining. I'm just filling up some airtime here. So melting point is when metal would turn from a solid to a liquid. Malleability is bendability, or metal, can it bend? Can it be molded? And conductivity, in this case, electricity, can pass through it. Oh, I almost gave something away. Did anybody have an answer for us?
We've got some, but I don't know if we've gotten one that's
correct yet.
Correct yet. We got a lot of people saying when Peter was angry.
Okay. You know what? He boiled up. You're right. He did boil up. You know what? That is when he boiled up with steam. So he was about to melt down. Right.
Okay, I think I'm gonna pick one of those then. Okay, so if we've got then Cindy Gonzalez is the winner of our second book.
Hello, Mrs. Gonzalez. That's, I think, Cindy from Florida. So nice that you've joined us. I knew Cindy from the Green Screen Summit.
Oh, awesome.
So here's the 3 properties of metals that we were referring to. There was a moment when Anita Tune-Up, the teacher, was explaining melting point, or going to explain, before she was interrupted by Argulat, who got up on a table and then fell and showed us that he was malleable. He claimed everybody else was soft, but it turns out he was soft. And he turned into, got some dents. And then Peter joined the circle at recess and played the circuit maker game, and they conducted electricity. There's a really fun circuit game in the activity packet that you can play to go along with that. Do we have time for more? Oh, it's 1 o'clock, or it's 2 o'clock time zone. Maybe we could
maybe do one more. We could always, it's up to you.
Or maybe, you know what we'll do? We'll just, how about we, instead of going through the trivia, why don't we just turn this into, You know what? We only had one more, so you're right.
Yeah.
That was a better idea. Let's try this. So Peter has favorite robots from movies, cartoons, and other stories, and I sprinkled some of those images into the illustrations. Did anybody catch it? Name just one of them that you might have seen, a different robot that showed up in the illustrations.
I think I see one. Yep. You've got, I believe this is correct.
Yay! That's right.
Taylor.
Rosie from the Jetsons was in there. So yes, here are the 4 that I intentionally sprinkled in. There was B9 is his name from Lost in Space. There's R2D2 was a soap dispenser in the bathroom. I don't know if you caught that. When Artie was calming himself, he read a book, and that was Artie Bot Draws a Lot. And Rosie from the Jetsons was on his lunchbox as he was heading off to Tinkertron School. And we're going to skip this one and go to how you can win this week. So if you didn't catch us live, you are part of this chance to win a book. So how about like maybe since we promised 4 books, so we could have like 2 winners. One gets a book and the other winner gets a book and a t-shirt. Would that work?
I think that works.
Okay, so in order to be entered into this giveaway, you need to take a screenshot of something from this presentation, or you could show us a picture of the robot that you drew. That would be wonderful. Or anything along the lines of this presentation and put it on social media. Use the hashtag PeterOmeter. Tag teacher goals so they can see it. And we're going to pick 2 winners, one to win the book and one to win the book and an augmented reality t-shirt. And we'll pick by the end of the week sometime and let you know.
Awesome. And for those 3 winners that I did announce just now live, make sure you guys email me at elena@teachergoals.com so I can make sure I can get your information to get those out to you guys. So let's go. Hold on one second, please. Okay, I just wanted to thank you guys so much today for joining us. You guys can visit the Teacher Goals website to find out how you can invite Tricia to read, draw, or lead other activities from the STEM activity packet that accompanies Peter-O-Meter.
And thanks so much, everybody, for celebrating National Robot Day with us. And I can't wait to see what you share on social media and hope to stay in touch. Until next time, take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.